Why do I want to be Premier of British Columbia? For me, it's very simple. My basic commitment is very simple. I believe in equality. I believe inequality is not only morally wrong, it's harmful to our society in every possible way. Evidence in every country in the world shows that unequal societies have worse rates of crime, worse rates of mental illness, worse rates of other problems in society. In fact, unequal societies are worse not only for the poor, but for the wealthy. We can do better. And we know that a government led by Christy Clark, a government led by Kevin Falcon, will make that situation worse in British Columbia. My background is part of my commitment to increase equality. I was raised in Vancouver in a small business family. I traveled the province on behalf of Canadian Parents for French for 5 years, seeing just about every school district in British Columbia. I saw examples everywhere of great hope, but I also saw examples, as a result of the actions of this government, of growing inequality. I worked in Ottawa, on Parliament Hill, fighting for BC's interest. And I worked as Chief of Staff to a Premier who delivered and negotiated the Nisga'a Treaty, our first modern-day treaty. But mostly it was my experiences here in Vancouver Kingsway, as your MLA, that led me to decide to run for the leadership of the NDP. We worked together to deal with issues of violence against women on public transit. And after months, indeed years of efforts, we brought real improvements to safety. We worked together. And this is vitally important, I think, to everything we're about. We worked together with social workers and with other people in the community to take on the BC Liberal government, who had imposed the deepest cuts on children in care in British Columbia. We worked together and we forced them to bring back an independent children's representative in British Columbia and restore some of those cuts. We worked together to fight the government's efforts to privatize public health care, to take away something that should be fundamental to the life of British Columbia. And we worked together here. And we worked together here in this community to save Carleton School, to save Graham Bruce School, to save Collingwood Neighbourhood School, and through our efforts to save schools throughout this school district from provincial budget cuts. We did it here, and we can do it in other places in British Columbia. What do these efforts have in common? They involve the entire community. They involve women's groups and parents and students. They involve social workers and foster parents. They involve community policing offices and business and trade unions. They involve the entire community. That's what real leadership is. Bringing people together to work on common cause. It's about listening and respecting, not just about talking and opposing. That's the kind of leadership British Columbia needs after 10 years of Liberal government, and that's the kind of leadership I intend to bring to British Columbia if elected as your leader and premier. Now, there are three compelling reasons that will, I think, motivate my campaign. First, addressing the fundamental issue of the economy in British Columbia. We know, you know, British Columbians in every community know that the BC Liberal government has failed us on the economy. The very issue that they claim as their success, they have fundamentally failed us. We have lower levels. We have lower levels of economic growth. This government, in its 10 years, has lower levels of economic growth than any government since the Great Depression. The government has dramatically lower levels of economic growth than existed, for example, in the NDP government in the 1990s. It is the worst government on the economy we have ever seen, and they have combined that record on the economy with growing inequality in our society. It is a failed record, and one every day we will take them on. We will take them on. This government, NDP governments, have nothing to hide from on economic issues. We will challenge them, we will debate them, and we will win those debates as we win elections. I want to lead a government that respects the business community, but I also want to lead a government and a party that maintains our historic relationship with organized labor and with working people. I want to lead a government that respects the public interest. And we have seen in this recession exactly how an economy without that balance, without that link to the public interest, ends up punishing the vast majority of individuals and businesses. We can build on the work of Premier Mike Harcourt to improve and increase productivity and innovation through cooperation with business and with the whole community based on fairness and certainty and dialogue. BC also has the worst record in the country with respect to research and innovation. This must change and will change in an NDP government under my leadership. We need to invest in the future too. This is a government that cut funding, cut the grant to the Michael Smith Foundation for Health Research, a body created under the NDP. They cut funding for that agency. We will do the opposite. We are also not going to be a government that cuts taxes for the big banks while forcing ordinary individuals to pay. This is precisely what has happened in recent years in British Columbia. A direct transfer from ordinary individuals, families of four earning $35,000 a year, see increased MSP premiums, and the money went directly to big banks. That has got to change, and it will change if I'm elected leader of the NDP and Premier of British Columbia. And the HST. The HST, a transfer of $2 billion in taxes from large business, largely, to consumers and to small business. It has damaged our economy. It has hurt small business. It has cost individuals their jobs. It is shameful. They not only lied about it, but they are now leaving our economy in peril by waiting to take action on it. We need to get rid of the HST, and if it's still there, if we're elected government, we will get rid of it ourselves. In short, we will do better than the BC Liberals on the economy. A second key reason I'm running is social justice. We are at our core rich in resources and rich in possibilities. So why does BC lead the country in child poverty? Why are we seeing at every level growing inequality? It's simple. Because unlike the Conservative government of Newfoundland and the Liberal government of Quebec and the NDP government of Manitoba, this government does not even have an anti-poverty plan. They haven't raised the minimum wage since they came to office. In fact, they cut it with the training wage. And they have gutted the very rules that protect workers in the workplace, the employment standards rules. And they don't even bother anymore with enforcement. They've done this while rewarding friends and insiders in ways such as the BC Rail deal. My friends, it is a shameful record. It is a shameful record, and a shameful record that must stop. Social and economic justice, that's why I want to lead our party. And the third major reason I want to lead the BCNDP is our environment and our natural resources. I want real action on climate change that includes the investment of carbon tax revenues and ongoing transit expansion and an innovative green infrastructure matched with tough anti-pollution standards. I want to see natural resource use in British Columbia linked to economic justice and sustainable economic development through initiatives such as the Columbia Basin Trust, restrictions on raw law exports, and an end to the runaway privatization of our rivers and hydro resources. We can build on the extraordinary and pioneering legacy of Dave Barrett, who created the Agricultural Land Reserve. And you can see the benefits so many years later, decades later, of his action. It was precedent-setting at the time, it was controversial at the time, but today we see it through locally grown food, local agricultural jobs, and my friends, without it, a 100-mile diet would not even be conceivable in British Columbia. Jobs, innovative, sustainable economic development, and environmental standards can fit together. And that's another reason why I'm running for the leadership of the NDP. Friends, I want to welcome you to the future of the New Democratic Party and British Columbia. A future where fairness triumphs over inequality, where prosperity replaces poverty, where hope replaces fear. Welcome to a future where child poverty is history. Welcome to a future where putting a roof over everyone's head comes before putting a roof on BC Place Stadium. Welcome to a future where the government puts the future of the planet ahead of the demands of big oil corporations. Welcome to the future where the government understands that Vancouver and Victoria are not Prince George or Caslow or Kelowna. A future where rural, urban, and suburban voters are treated equally, not treated with equal disdain. Welcome to a future with the very best public schools and hospitals and services, where teachers and hospital workers, paramedics and nurses, community workers and government employees are celebrated, not disregarded and denigrated. Welcome to the future where the business community is a respected voice in government decisions, but not the only voice. Welcome to a future where ordinary British Columbians who haven't been able to get ahead, who have been stuck on an endless treadmill of escalating hydro rates, higher medical services premiums, and no relief, will see rewards for their hard work. Welcome to a future, a New Democrat future, where everyone can contribute and no one is left out. And welcome to a future where an Adrian Dix government will listen to the people and cancel the outrageous HST. My friends, that's the future that I want. That's the future that British Columbia have been missing. And that's the future we in the New Democratic Party will be striving for if you give me the honor to be your next leader. Friends, caucus colleagues, Sue, Bruce, Harry, and so many others, I deeply appreciate your support tonight. It means an enormous amount to me. I pledge to all of you tonight, I will work tirelessly to honor your faith in me. I will do everything I can, not just to contribute to the NDP and to my own campaign, but to contribute to a better British Columbia. I will treat everybody with respect, my fellow candidates and all members of the NDP. I will run a campaign based on unity of the NDP and respect for all of its members. My record shows it. I deliver on my promises. And so I promise you tonight, our journey together will end in victory in the next provincial election. But more important than that, it will end and continue with an NDP government that delivers on the promise of our British Columbia, a British Columbia of fairness, of justice for all, not just the privileged few. That's my commitment to you tonight. And together, I believe we will win the next election and change British Columbia for everyone. Thank you very much.